index cards. I'll be reading the questions and addressing them to the appropriate panelists. So the first question is, what is the religion of Kurds? How did they survive in the Middle East for so many years? Probably Ms. Nanda.
Thank you. Most of the Thank you for the question. Most of the Kurdish people, majority, they are Muslim, Sunni, but we have also diverse like Yazidis, we have Alawite, which is also another religion. But all of them, they live in peace together. Unfortunately, the other, they look at them as infidels. Even the Muslim Sunni, they look at them as an infidels because they are moderate Muslim. They are not very radical, and because of that, we are being accused being infidels, as I mentioned in Afrin, and they killed us because of that. They don't see us as a Muslim because they are very Muslim extremist and radical. We are not, we are moderate, and we have, like I mentioned, Yazidis and Alawite and even Muslims. Thank you.
So there was a second question by Raman Moplah regarding Afrin. I think you have partly answered the question, whether they consider Sunni Kurds also as infidels, or do they differentiate between Kurds versus Yazidis, Sunnis, and treat them differentially?
No, actually they look at them as a Kurds. They don't look at them, they say if you are Kurds, so you are infidels. Whether they don't care about if you are Muslim or if you are Yazidi or whatever. But if you are Yazidi, that would be more, that means they will have a reason that they are kuffar, as my colleague mentioned, and they ask them to be Muslim, to convert it to Islam. And this is we can say it is really untrue. It is not a part of the human rights.
Thank you. There's a question. Armenia is holding joint military exercise with US. Why do you think US did not come to the rescue of Nagorno-Karabakh?
That's a great question. The joint military exercises were peacekeeper exercises. They were not combative. We believe that they're part of the negotiation process to balance Russia's power in the region. We don't see them as a mechanism that is helpful in the Artsakh situation. And at the end of the day, it's a great question to ask the administration as to why they have been silent. They have said in hearings, they have said in State Department hearings, and statements that they will not tolerate violence, yet they have done nothing to punish Azerbaijan, including since 2020 have continued to provide US military assistance to Azerbaijan despite seeing all the human rights violations that Azerbaijan has committed, and currently they have not committed to renewing military assistance, but they have not said they are not going to. They have legally just delayed the process. So we don't know. It's a great question, but we would say they're playing geopolitics rather than being the humanitarian, rather than meeting their moral obligations that the Biden administration has clearly said that they are devoted to.
Thank you. The next question is to Ms. Mohamad. What international intervention would you like to see in Syria happening at this time?
As I mentioned, Syria became a very complicated issue now because of the interference of the regional and the international power there. So far we couldn't find any solution. 13 years of war, and we couldn't find any solution, but Syria is being divided now, as I show in the map. So what we would like to see, Syria as a decentralized Syria. We are very committed to the unity of the Syrian territory, and we would like to have a decentralized, like autonomous administration in Syria, democratic system, equal gender, freedom of religions, democracy for all the people and the diversity who is living in Syria. Kurdish people must have their own rights in the constitution of the Syria and new Syria. This is what we are, looking for. We are trying to reach to all the Syrian people, to democratic people or opposition, to work together. And so far we have succeeded in somehow, but some of the people who are not till now Democrat, they are very, I can say, backed by Turkey. Still they are in Turkey, they are not going to talk to us, they don't accept us also to speak to us at all. We are not, when I talk to us, I don't mean only Kurds, I mean the Syrian Democratic Council, the Autonomous Administration, all these components together who is living in the region. We wish that we can reach to a political solution, ending the Syrian crisis and having a new Syria, which is the democratic Syria, pluralistic Syria, and decentralized Syria. Thank you.
There's a question, does Yazidi religion have common roots with ancient Greek paganism or Hinduism? Do you collaborate? Pari?
So, I think the Yazidi religion has similarities with many other religions, whether it's the Christians, the Jewish religion, but I do want to come back to one of the questions that was mentioned here before. In Iraq, the Yazidis, we are an ethnic and religious minority, so we see ourselves as Yazidis, and with religion we are Yazidis. So we believe in one God, we have 7 angels, etc. Our holy site is in Kurdistan in Iraq. Over centuries of persecution, we say that the Yazidis had to convert to Islam and eventually became the Kurds. That's our history, and many people have different opinions on that, but that's how we know our history. In Syria, it's a communities are more united together. There's not a lot of difference. When I speak to Yazidis in Syria, I was recently there at the beginning of this year, they see themselves as one, all of them. Whether they're Yazidis, whether they're Muslims, whether the Kurds or others, they all see themselves as one, which is very beautiful to see. And in Iraq, you have to be divided because you will not survive. Because everyone will, even on your nationality, on your identification card, it says what religion you are. So there's no way you can hide what you are, right? So whatever someone's opinion is, whether they see themselves in Syria as Kurdish or as Yazidis or however, in Iraq, it is your identity card that immediately shows what you are, and on that basis, you're treated unequal. So I wanted to just clarify that because there's a very different dynamic in Iraq and in Syria, so that people understand this idea.
Thank you, Pari.
But yeah, there are some similarities. I mean, there's like symbols that look like other religions, but I would not say that it is derived from one or the other. I don't see that. Also, like our holy site, it's over 2,000 years old. They've done some tests, and I'm sure in the next years there will be more tests done as well. But you also have to understand that Iraq has such a history, and I'm sure that if excavation starts in different places, we will see a lot more of history. Like for example, there's the unfortunate thing is that there's no respect for history, so you see a lot of ancient things, and people there don't really understand the value of it. Like one of them is the aqueduct, the first aqueduct ever, which is near Shekhan, Yazidi village. But this was Assyrian. And so you go there, it says UN heritage site, etc., but it's like a very small sign. People don't know where it is. It's a mud road. I had some friends who knew this, so we went there. And it's very unfortunate to see that it's not protected or anything. But this is so old and there's so much history, and I'm sure that if we start digging around that area, we'll see a lot of history about the Assyrians, we'll see a lot of history about the Yazidis, and we'll get to know more of these answers that we are unaware of now.
Thank you, Pari. Next question goes to Mr. Kofi Sarpong. Currently, what is the religious profile of Rwanda?
Religiously, there is quite a lot of Christians, and also there are Muslims there, but I think majority of them are Christians, on paper. But when you look very, very deep, every Christian is still a traditionalist. They still hold back to their own traditional beliefs, and they still go back to do whatever they need to do. So, and that is the beauty in Africa, when we actually accepted, the other religions coming in. We were looking at the good side of those religions coming in, and not the other side of it. So we embraced it alongside our lines, and we lived, very happily. A quick example is even where I come from in Ghana. When I was growing up, we used to have Muslims living alongside us, and we used to go there, we had dinner with them, they used to come have dinner with us. We didn't know the difference. We didn't even know that there was even religion of Muslims or this or that. And it was so amazing that we lived so happily, and there was nothing like that. But until recently that, things started, cropping up. But according to my research that I've done, there are Christians, there are Muslims. Majority of them are Christians, Muslims being the minority, but they are still traditionalists, and they keep to that. Thank you.
There are a large number of questions on geopolitics, etc. So, in the interest of time, I will not take them. I'll just take one last question. It's a very interesting question. What role, if any, have you seen in media and pop culture play in public education and involvement in genocides? An example is Hotel Rwanda, Kardashian speaking on Armenia. Anybody can speak on this.
I guess I'll start. It is always beneficial to have influencers or media figures talk about this issue. In the case of Armenia, and in the case of the Armenian genocide, in the case of Artsakh, the numbers are stacked against us. When you look at the payroll for the Turkish and Azerbaijani lobbies, and the amount they pay their lobbyists, I mean, one of their lobbyists for Azerbaijan gets $120,000 a month. We don't compete with that. We're a grassroots non-profit, okay? And that's cheap for the Azerbaijani government. Turkey spends millions upon millions. And that's just in lobbyists. That doesn't count the PR firms. That doesn't count the rewriting of history. That doesn't count every cultural festival they host in DC and around the world to lie about history. And so, yes, it's beneficial. It's not done enough, but we do appreciate whether it's Serge Tankian at System of a Down, whether it's Kim Kardashian, using their platforms. It needs to be done more. And we see this done for other causes, and we look to, and not just, this is what hurts me, is that it doesn't have to be an Armenian to influence this issue. Anyone who has a platform, any actor, any director who has a large platform can talk about this. This is a human rights issue. And we see it continued in every culture, against every religion, somewhere in the world. And it should not have to be the same culture to represent them. Everyone can take a stand on this.
Thank you, Tereza. In interest of time, I will stop the Q&A.